I saw them in her car after Sunday service. My wife and our worship leader hands together over an ultrasound photo 15 feet from where I just preached about fidelity. Let me back up. My name is Marcus Hayes. I'm the senior pastor at Riverside Community Church in Portland, Oregon. 2,400 families call this place home. I've been here 15 years, built this church from a congregation of 300 to what it is now. We have a staff of 45 people. Our services reach 50,000 people online every Sunday. And this morning, I'd preached about forgiveness. I'd opened my sermon journal, this old leather-bound book I've kept for 15 years. The cover's worn smooth from my hands. It creaks when you open it, like an old door. The gold cross on the front catches the sanctuary lights. I've written every single Sunday sermon in that journal. Blue fountain pen. My handwriting gets messier when I'm tired, neater when I'm sure of what I'm saying. This morning, I was sure. Forgiveness, I told them, means releasing your right to revenge. We forgive because we're forgiven. Grace has no limits. I believed every word. I'd spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice. That's what I taught. That's who I was. 2,400 people nodded, said amen. Tyler Brennan, our music director, led us in Amazing Grace. His voice filled every corner of that sanctuary, pure, beautiful, anointed. I watched him from the pulpit, guitar in his hands, eyes closed like he was communing with God himself. I had no idea that in 45 minutes I'd learn what forgiveness actually costs. Service ended at noon. I stood at the back doors, shaking hands, hugging people, praying with a young couple whose baby was sick. Eleanor, my foster mother, 68 years old, sharp as ever, squeezed my arm as she left. "Good sermon, sweetheart," she said, but her eyes were concerned. "You doing okay? You look tired." "Long week," I told her. It wasn't a lie. My wife Kathy had been distant for months. Our daughter Olivia was home from college, stressed about her psychology finals. The church budget meeting had gone late Thursday night. I was tired. Eleanor patted my cheek. "Come by for dinner this week. I'll make pot roast." "I will, Mom." I'd called her Mom since I was 8 years old. She took me in when nobody else would. Foster kid, angry, broken. She saw something in me worth saving. The parking lot was clearing out, families loading into cars, kids running between vehicles. October in Portland meant crisp air, leaves turning gold and red. Beautiful day. I walked toward my car, keys in hand. That's when I saw Kathy's Honda, 2 spaces over. The back door was slightly open, and I saw them. Kathy, Tyler, sitting in the back seat together, Tyler's hand on her belly, her head on his shoulder, and between them on the center console, an ultrasound photo. I stood there, keys in my hand, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. They didn't see me at first. Tyler was saying something. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw his mouth move, saw him smile, saw him touch the ultrasound photo with his finger, tracing something on it. Then Kathy looked up, saw me standing there. She smiled at me, like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't just watched my wife and our worship leader in an intimate moment that didn't include me. That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was planned. Kathy climbed out of the car, smoothing her dress. She was wearing her silver cross necklace, the delicate one with the tiny diamond accents. It caught the sunlight, made a soft tinkling sound as it moved against her collarbone. "Marcus," she said. Her voice was steady, warm even. "I was just going to find you. Tyler and I have some wonderful news." Tyler got out on the other side. He was 34 years old, handsome in that clean-cut worship leader way. Always wore dark jeans and button-up shirts. Nice guy. Or so I'd thought. I'd hired him 2 years ago, gave him a chance when he was going through a divorce, mentored him, trusted him. He couldn't look me in the eye. "Pastor," he said. Just that. "Pastor." Kathy reached into the car and picked up the ultrasound photo. It was printed on that slick thermal paper, 4 by 6 inches, grayish background with lighter areas showing the baby. I could see the date at the top, October 28th. That was yesterday. She held it out to me. I'm pregnant, Kathy said. 16 weeks. My mouth went dry. I looked at the ultrasound. Clear image of a fetus. Head, spine, tiny hands. 16 weeks meant when? I managed to say. July, Kathy said, still smiling. You remember my mission trip to Honduras that week in July? I remembered. She'd been excited about it. A group from the church was building a school. Kathy was going to coordinate the volunteers, handle the logistics. She'd shown me the itinerary. Alaska Airlines to Tegucigalpa, 1 week. She'd come back with photos of children and half-built buildings, but 16 weeks ago was July. And if she was showing me this ultrasound yesterday... Congratulations, I said. It came out like a question. Tyler finally looked at me. Pastor Marcus, we need to talk. All of us. This is complicated. Complicated. That's what he called it. Families were still loading into cars around us. I could see Jessica Morris, our youth pastor, walking to her vehicle. She waved. I raised my hand automatically, smiled. Pastor smile, the one I'd perfected over 15 years. Not here, I said. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Let's go to my office. Actually, Kathy said, I think home would be better. Olivia should be there. We should tell her together. Olivia, our daughter, 19 years old, home from Portland State for the weekend. I thought about her sitting at our kitchen table, drinking coffee, probably still in her pajamas. Fine, I said. Home. I got in my car. Hands shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. The drive home took 12 minutes. I don't remember any of it. Our house sits in a quiet neighborhood about 3 miles from the church. Craftsman style, 3 bedrooms, Kathy's idea. She'd wanted something close enough to walk to the church if we needed to, far enough to feel like we had privacy. We bought it 16 years ago, right after I became senior pastor. I pulled into the driveway. Kathy's Honda pulled in behind me. Tyler drove a silver Civic. He parked on the street. Olivia met us at the door. She was in leggings and an oversized Portland State sweatshirt, her dark hair in a messy bun. She looked from me to Kathy to Tyler. Dad, what's going on? Let's sit down, honey, I said. We went to the living room. Olivia sat on the couch. I sat in my reading chair. Kathy and Tyler sat together on the love seat across from us, together, like a unit. Kathy smoothed her hands over her stomach, her left hand, and I noticed her engagement ring was gone. Olivia, Kathy started, you know I went on that mission trip in July to Honduras. Well, something happened while I was there, something unexpected. Okay? Olivia looked confused. She glanced at me. I couldn't meet her eyes. I'm pregnant, Kathy said. 4 months. Olivia's mouth fell open. She looked at me, then at Kathy, then at Tyler. Wait, Olivia said slowly. Why's Tyler here? The room got very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, a car driving past outside. Tyler shifted on the love seat. The leather creaked. Because, Kathy said, Tyler is the father. Olivia stood up. What? Sit down, honey, I said. Dad, do you... Olivia looked at me like I was a stranger. Did you know about this? I found out 20 minutes ago in the church parking lot, I said. My voice came out flat, controlled, pastor voice. Sit down, Olivia, let them explain. Olivia sat, but her leg was bouncing, nervous energy. She does that when she's upset. Tyler cleared his throat. Olivia, your mom and I, we developed feelings for each other over the past year. It wasn't planned. It just happened. It just happened. Olivia's voice went up. How does that just happen? We spent a lot of time together, Kathy said. Her voice was patient, reasonable, like she was explaining something obvious. I coordinated all the worship team schedules. Tyler and I had to work closely. Late rehearsals, planning sessions, we connected. I thought about those late rehearsals, all those nights Kathy came home at 10, 11 at night, exhausted. I'd made her tea, asked how it went. She'd smiled and said the team was really coming together. And the mission trip? I asked. Honduras? Kathy reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it carefully. It was creased like it had been folded and unfolded many times. Coffee stain at the corner. I could see the Alaska Airlines logo at the top. This is the itinerary I showed you, she said. She set it on the coffee table. Tegucigalpa, 1 week. Then she pulled out another piece of paper. This one was a receipt, hotel receipt. She set it next to the itinerary. This is where I actually was, she said. Cancun Paradisus Resort. I picked up the receipt. My hands were steady now. Weird how that works. Sometimes when things get bad enough, your body just shuts down the shaking, goes into some kind of operational mode. The receipt was thermal paper, that slick surface that fades over time. It listed charges for a double occupancy room, July 18th through 25th, room service, champagne, total in pesos that converted to about $1,800. You went to Cancun, I said, with Tyler. Yes, Kathy said. Well, I thought you were building a school in Honduras. Yes. Olivia made a sound. Not quite a sob, not quite a gasp, just a sound. Why are you showing us this? I asked. Why are you here, Tyler? Why are you telling us together? Tyler and Kathy looked at each other, some silent communication passing between them. Then Tyler spoke. Pastor Marcus, you've taught me a lot in the 2 years I've been here about grace, about redemption, about how God uses broken people. I waited. Kathy and I, we know what we did was wrong. We're not proud of it. But we've prayed about this. We've sought God's guidance, and we believe there's a path forward. A path forward, I repeated. We want to ask for your forgiveness, Kathy said. She leaned forward, her silver cross swinging, and we want to figure out how to handle this together, as a family. As a family, I said. The words tasted strange. The baby's due in April, Kathy said. And Marcus, I know this is hard, but you've always said that grace has no limits, that forgiveness is at the heart of everything we believe. We need you to show us what that looks like. I stared at her. At this woman I'd been married to for 17 years, at the silver cross around her neck, the one she wore every single Sunday, the one she clutched whenever she lied. What exactly, I said slowly, are you asking me to do? Tyler spoke up. We're asking you to forgive us, to let us work through this together. Kathy and I, we're not asking you to leave. We're asking you to be part of the solution. Part of the solution, I repeated. I felt like I was in a dream, like none of this was real. We've been thinking, Kathy said, about modern families, about how God can redeem even the messiest situations. And we wondered, what if we raised this baby together, all three of us? Olivia stood up again. You're insane. Olivia, Kathy started. No. Olivia's voice was shaking. This is insane. You cheated on Dad. You lied about where you were, and now you want him to help you raise the baby you made with another man? It's not that simple, Tyler said. It is exactly that simple. Olivia turned to me. Dad, say something. Tell them this is crazy. I looked at my daughter, 19 years old, psychology major. She got in my dark eyes, Kathy's cheekbones. She was brilliant, kind, everything I'd hoped for in a kid. And I realized I'd taught her this. I'd taught her that forgiveness means absorbing pain, that grace means sacrificing yourself, that love means accepting whatever someone dishes out. Olivia, Kathy said, her voice sharp, this is between your father and me. You don't understand the complexities. I understand you cheated on him, Olivia said. I understand you lied. I understand you're asking him to pretend like everything's okay when you destroyed our family. We haven't destroyed anything, Tyler said. He stood up too. We're trying to find a way through this that honors everyone. That shows the church what real forgiveness looks like. The church, I said. Finally found my voice. You're worried about the church. Of course we're worried about the church, Kathy said. You're the senior pastor, Marcus. I'm the events director. Tyler leads worship. If this comes out badly, if we don't handle it with grace, it'll destroy the ministry we've all built. The ministry we've all built, I said. Yes, Kathy said. The ministry, our reputation, everything we've worked for. But if we show the congregation that even in this, especially in this, we can practice what we preach, that we can forgive and rebuild, it could be powerful. I looked at Tyler. Is this what you want? To rebuild with my wife and me? Tyler shifted his weight, uncomfortable. I want to do the right thing, Pastor. I want to be responsible for the baby, for Kathy. And I don't want to destroy everything you've built. How noble, Olivia said. Olivia, enough, Kathy snapped. This is adult business. I'm 19, Olivia said. I think I'm old enough to call bullshit when I see it. Olivia, I said quietly. Language. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it in her eyes. Disappointment. Not in her mother, in me. Because I'd just corrected her language instead of standing up to this insanity. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice. I need to think, I said. I stood up. I need to process this. Tyler, you should go home. Kathy, Olivia, and I need to talk, alone. But, Kathy started. Please, I said, just go. Both of you, give me time. Tyler nodded. He moved toward the door, then stopped. Turned back to me. Pastor Marcus, he said, you teach grace every Sunday. You tell people that God's mercy is endless, that no sin is too big for redemption. We're asking you to live what you preach, to show the church what that grace looks like. He left. Kathy stood up slowly. Think about it, Marcus, she said. Really think about it. This could be a testimony, a way to show the congregation that even in the hardest circumstances, grace wins. She picked up the ultrasound photo from where she'd left it on the coffee table, held it out to me. This is your chance, she said, to show everyone what you're really made of. She left. The door clicked shut behind her. Olivia and I stood there in our living room. October sunshine streaming through the windows. Beautiful day outside, perfect day for a Sunday afternoon. My daughter's fork hadn't even clattered to her plate because we hadn't eaten, but Olivia looked at me with something close to horror. Dad, she whispered, tell me you're not actually considering this. I looked down at the ultrasound photo Kathy had left on the coffee table. Thermal paper, slick surface, already curling at the corners, the date at the top, the tiny fetus visible in grayscale, but I couldn't answer her because I didn't know what I was considering. I'd built my entire life on the idea that forgiveness has no limits, that grace means always giving another chance. And now my wife and our worship leader were asking me to live that out. They were using my faith as handcuffs. That night, I sat at my desk in the home office with my sermon journal open. The leather creaked as I turned pages. 15 years of sermons, 15 years of teaching about grace, forgiveness, second chances. I found the sermon from 3 months ago, June, before the mission trip, before everything. Love means sacrifice, I'd written in my neat handwriting. True love puts the other person first. True love forgives 70 times 7. I closed the journal, set it aside, couldn't look at my own words anymore. Olivia knocked on the doorframe. She changed into jeans and a t-shirt. Her eyes were red. Dad, she said, can I come in? Of course, honey. She sat in the chair across from my desk, the one where church members sat when they came for counseling. I'd prayed with people in that chair, helped them through divorces, addictions, grief. Now my daughter sat there and I had no wisdom to offer. "Are you going to do what they asked?" Olivia said. Her voice was small. "I don't know." "Dad." She leaned forward. "She lied to you for months. She went to Cancun with another man while you thought she was serving God in Honduras. She's pregnant with his baby, and she wants you to... What? Pretend it's yours? Raise it together like some kind of commune? I know how it sounds." "Then why are you even considering it?" I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she gotten so grown up? When had she become this fierce defender of truth? "Because," I said slowly, "I've spent my entire ministry teaching people that grace is limitless, that no sin is too big, that forgiveness is always possible. If I don't practice that now, in the hardest moment of my life, then what have I been teaching all these years?" "You've been teaching people to have boundaries," Olivia said, "to value themselves, to not enable destructive behavior. I've heard your sermons, Dad. You've counseled women to leave abusive husbands. You've told people that forgiveness doesn't mean staying in toxic situations." "That's different." "How?" Her voice rose. "How is this different? Mom betrayed you. She manipulated you. She's still manipulating you right now by making this about your faith instead of her actions." I didn't have an answer. "I need to pray about it," I said. "I need to seek God's guidance." Olivia stood up, paused at the door. "Dad," she said, "I love you, but Mom doesn't. If she did, she couldn't have done this." She left. I heard her bedroom door close upstairs. I opened my journal again, started writing, new entry, today's date. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice, but sacrifice without respect. I stopped, couldn't finish the thought, put the pen down. My phone buzzed, text from Kathy. "We should talk tomorrow, after you've had time to think. I love you, Marcus. We can get through this." I stared at those words. I love you. Did she? Or was this just more manipulation? I turned off the phone, sat in the dark office until after midnight. Sunday morning came too fast. I stood in front of my closet looking at my pastoral robes, black with purple stole. I'd worn these every Sunday for 15 years, put them on. Felt like a costume now, like I was dressing up as someone I used to be. Kathy was already at the church. She'd texted that she needed to set up for the women's brunch after service. Normal Sunday routine, like nothing had changed. Olivia came downstairs as I was making coffee. She was dressed for church, jeans and a nice sweater. "You're coming?" I asked. "Someone needs to watch your back," she said. We drove to church in silence. The parking lot was already half full. Families arriving, kids running, beautiful October morning. Everything looked normal, but nothing was normal. I walked into the sanctuary through the side entrance. Tyler was already on stage tuning his guitar. He looked up, saw me, gave me a small wave, like we were friends, like he hadn't just destroyed my life. I walked past him without acknowledging him, went to my office backstage, closed the door, sat at my desk with my sermon journal. Today's sermon, Living with Grace Under Pressure. I'd written it 3 weeks ago. Before I knew I'd be living it, there was a knock. Eleanor opened the door without waiting for an answer. That's Eleanor, 78 years old, took no nonsense from anyone. "Morning, sweetheart," she said. Then she looked at my face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, Mom." "Don't lie to me. I changed your diapers. I know when something's wrong." I almost laughed. Almost. "It's complicated." "It's Kathy, isn't it?" Eleanor sat down. "I've been watching her. Something's been off for months." "Mom, she's having an affair," Eleanor said. Not a question, a statement. I looked at her. "How did you know?" I'm old, not blind. The way she looks at Tyler during worship, the late nights, the distance. I was married to your foster father for 43 years before he died. I know what love looks like, and I know what it doesn't look like. "She's pregnant," I said. The words came out flat. Tyler's baby. 4 months. Eleanor's face went white, then red, then white again. That son of a... She stopped herself. We were in a church. And she told you this how? Yesterday, after service. Asked me to forgive them, to help raise the baby, to show the church what grace looks like. Eleanor stood up, started pacing. That manipulative little... Marcus, tell me you're not considering this. Everyone keeps asking me that. Because it's insane. She cheated on you, lied to you, got pregnant with another man's child. And now she wants you to, what? Play happy family? She says it could be a testimony. A testimony? Eleanor stopped pacing, looked at me. Marcus Hayes, I raised you better than this. You know what this is? This is her trying to have her cake and eat it too. She wants Tyler. She wants the baby. But she also wants your salary, your house, your reputation. She wants you to provide cover so she doesn't look like the villain. Mom, no. Eleanor's voice was firm. You listened to me. I took you in when you were 8 years old. Angry little boy who'd been through 5 foster homes. You were so scared of being rejected again that you tried to make yourself perfect. Tried to be whatever everyone needed you to be. And I see you doing it now, trying to be the perfect pastor who forgives everything. But Marcus, love isn't just sacrifice. Love requires respect. And she doesn't respect you. There was another knock. Jessica Morris, our youth pastor, poked her head in. Pastor Marcus, 5 minutes to service. Thanks, Jessica. She left. Eleanor squeezed my shoulder. We'll talk after service. But Marcus, don't make any decisions yet. Promise me. I promise. She left. I sat alone with my sermon journal. Read today's opening line. Grace means extending mercy when it's not deserved. I'd have to say that while looking at Tyler, while he stood 15 feet away, leading worship, knowing he'd slept with my wife, knowing she was carrying his child. I walked out onto the stage. The sanctuary was packed. 2,400 people. I saw Olivia in the front row, sitting with Eleanor, saw Kathy in her usual spot on the left side, 3rd row, wearing her silver cross necklace, smiling. Tyler stepped to the microphone. Good morning, church family. Let's worship together. He started playing Amazing Grace. The same song from last week. His voice filled the sanctuary, pure, beautiful, anointed. I wanted to throw my Bible at him. Instead, I closed my eyes, prayed for strength I didn't have. 2,400 people sang. I mouthed the words. Couldn't make sound come out. This was torture. Monday morning, I was in my church office when my phone rang. Deacon Robert Chen, head of the church board, my mentor. Marcus, he said, we need to meet today if possible. What's wrong? Just come by my office, bring Eleanor if you can. This is important. An hour later, Eleanor and I sat in Deacon Chen's downtown law office. He was 55, sharp suit, sharper mind. He'd been on the church board for 20 years, helped me navigate every major decision. He slid a folder across his desk. I got a call this morning from Priya Desai, our church legal counsel. He said she was doing the quarterly expense review, found some irregularities. I opened the folder. Inside were printed credit card statements, church credit cards, highlighted entries throughout. Buzzini SS dinner with BM, I read, $847. BM, Chen said. Bradley Mitchell was the vendor we used for sound equipment, but we stopped working with him last year. Yet that entry appears 23 times over the past 8 months. Always the same phrase, always expensive restaurants. I flipped through pages. He was right, 23 entries. All signed by Kathy as events director, all listing BM as the business contact. BM, Eleanor said slowly. Not Bradley Mitchell. No, Chen said. I checked. These are dinner reservations, hotels, travel expenses, and they match up with Tyler's schedule. When he was supposedly in Seattle for a worship conference, there's a hotel charge on Kathy's card. Same hotel, same dates. My hands started shaking. I set the papers down. How long? I asked. 8 months, Chen said. Maybe longer. These are just the church expenses. I haven't looked at your personal accounts. 23 dinner dates, I said, on the church's dime. That's not all. Chen pulled out another document. This one was stapled, multiple pages. These are the church board meeting minutes from September. I went back through them after Priya called. Look at page 6. I flipped to page 6. There was a proposal, typed professional. Proposal for leadership transition. I read aloud. As Riverside Community Church continues to grow, we should consider adding additional senior leadership to distribute responsibilities. Current structure places too much burden on Senior Pastor Marcus Hayes. Recommendation: promote Tyler Brennan from music director to associate pastor position with eventual pathway to senior pastor role as Marcus Hayes transitions to more advisory capacity. I stared at the page, at the signature at the bottom. Catherine Hayes, events director, and beside her name, drawn in blue pen, a smiley face. This is dated August 15th, I said, 1 month before the mission trip, Eleanor said. Her voice was ice. She was planning this, I said slowly. Before the affair? During the affair? She was trying to replace me with Tyler. It looks that way, Chen said. The proposal didn't go anywhere. Board tabled it, said it was premature, but Marcus, this shows intent. This wasn't just an affair. This was strategic. I felt sick. Actually sick. Like I might throw up right there in Chen's office. There's more, Chen said quietly. He pulled out another paper, hotel envelope, white, glossy. Fontainebleau, Miami Beach, printed in blue script. Miami? I said. I don't remember Kathy going to Miami. July, Chen said, the week before the Honduras trip, or what we thought was the Honduras trip. These are room key cards. Rooms 1847 and 1849, adjoining rooms, both registered under Kathy's name, both charges to her church credit card. Adjoining rooms, 1847 and 1849. I called the hotel, Chen said. They confirmed both rooms were occupied. Connecting door between them, they ordered champagne to room 1847 twice. Eleanor's hand found mine, squeezed. I'm sorry, Marcus, Chen said. I know this is... She was with him in Miami, I said. Before Cancun, before the pregnancy, she was planning this for months. It appears so. I looked at the board, minutes again, at Kathy's signature, at the smiley face beside it. She'd planned to replace me with Tyler, to push me out of my own church, to take over my life while making it look like natural leadership transition. The affair wasn't emotional. It was strategic. That somehow made it worse. I was still processing when my phone rang Tuesday afternoon. Margaret Brennan, Tyler's mother. Pastor Marcus, she said. Her voice was shaking. I need to speak with you, in person, please. Of course, Margaret. When? Now, she said. I'm in the church parking lot. I found her sitting in her car. 62 years old, gray hair, kind face. She'd been a member of Riverside for 30 years. Raised Tyler in this church. She was crying. Margaret, what's wrong? She held out her hand. In it was a tissue. She unfolded it carefully. Inside was a ring, my ring. The engagement ring I'd given Kathy 19 years ago. Simple gold band, small diamond, half a carat. I'd saved for 3 months to buy it, worked overtime at my church job. I'd noticed last Sunday that Kathy wasn't wearing it. She'd said it needed resizing, but here it was, in Margaret Brennan's tissue. Where did you get this? I asked. Tyler's apartment, Margaret said. She was sobbing now. I went over yesterday to bring him groceries. He wasn't home, but I have a key. I let myself in to put things in his fridge, and I saw a jewelry box on his dresser. I opened it. This was inside. I took the ring, turned it over. Inside the band was the engraving, M+C forever 2006 forever. Pastor Marcus, Margaret said, I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know about any of this until yesterday. When I found the ring, I called Tyler. He admitted everything, the affair, the pregnancy. He said you knew, that you were all working it out together. Is that what he said? He said Kathy had left you, that she'd chosen him, that they were going to raise the baby together. He said you'd given them your blessing. I almost laughed. Almost. He said I gave them my blessing. Did you? Margaret looked at me with desperate hope, like maybe if I said yes, it would make her son less of a monster. No, I said. I didn't give them anything. They ambushed me on Sunday, told me about the pregnancy, asked me to help raise the baby, to show the church what grace looks like. Margaret put her face in her hands. Oh, God. Oh, God. Pastor, I'm so sorry. I raised him better than this. I don't know what happened to my boy. Margaret, he was such a good kid, she said. Loved music, loved God. When his marriage fell apart, I thought coming here, working for you, it would help him heal. And instead, he did this. He destroyed your family. She looked up at me, eyes red, mascara running. What can I do? She asked. How can I make this right? It's not your responsibility, Margaret. You didn't do this. He's my son. And he's a grown man who made his own choices, I said gently. You're not responsible for those choices. She took the ring back from me, wrapped it in the tissue. I told him he needs to resign, she said. Leave the church. Face what he's done. He said Kathy needs him, that they love each other, that God brought them together. God brought them together, I repeated. That's what he said. Margaret wiped her eyes. Pastor, I know you teach about forgiveness, about grace, but my son doesn't deserve your grace. What he did, what they did, it's unforgivable. I thought about that, about my sermon journal, about 15 years of teaching that nothing is unforgivable. I don't know anymore, Margaret, I said. I honestly don't know. She gave me the ring, pressed it into my palm. Keep it, she said, or throw it away, or give it back to Kathy, but don't let her pretend she still deserves it. She drove away. I stood in the parking lot holding my engagement ring in a tissue. The engraving was still visible. M+C forever 2006. 19 years ago, I'd believed forever was possible. Wednesday evening, Olivia came into my office at home. She had her laptop. Her face was pale. Dad, she said, I need to show you something. She set the laptop on my desk, turned it toward me. On the screen was a spreadsheet, the worship team's schedule, color-coded cells, dates, names. This is the schedule Mom keeps, Olivia said, for worship team rehearsals. She posted online so everyone can access it. Okay. I cross-referenced it, Olivia said. Her voice was shaking. With the actual sign-in sheets from church, the ones Jessica keeps. You know, for security reasons, so we know who's in the building? I nodded. Dad, 18 of these rehearsals never happened, the ones marked here in pink, with the little hearts Mom drew in the margins. They never happened. No one signed in. The building was empty. I looked at the spreadsheet, at Kathy's handwriting, hearts and stars in the margins. Little notes. Extended rehearsal, new song, and special practice session, Christmas music. 18 fake rehearsals, 18 nights. Kathy came home late, exhausted, talking about how hard the team was working. 18 lies. That's not all, Olivia said. She clicked to another tab. I called the hotel, the one in Cancun, the Paradisus Resort. Olivia, Dad, listen, I used Mom's credit card number, the one she uses for church expenses. I said I was calling to confirm a past reservation. They pulled up her account. She showed me another screenshot. Hotel records. Room 847. Olivia read. Registered to Catherine Hayes, companion Tyler Brennan, July 18th through 25th. Double occupancy. They ordered room service 6 times, champagne twice, couples massage, romantic dinner package. She looked at me. Her eyes were full of tears. Dad, she planned this, all of it. The fake rehearsals, the fake mission trip. She's been lying to you for months, maybe years. I stared at the evidence my daughter had compiled. 18 fake rehearsals, hotel records, credit card statements. I'm sorry, Olivia whispered. I know you didn't want to believe it. I know you wanted to think maybe it was just a mistake. Just one time, just... Stop, I said. My voice came out harsh, then softer. Stop, honey. It's okay. You did the right thing. Did I? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Because now you know. Now you have to face it. And I feel like I just destroyed whatever hope you had left. I pulled her into a hug, my brilliant, fierce daughter who loved me enough to break my heart with the truth. You didn't destroy anything, I said. Your mother did that. You just showed me what I needed to see. She pulled back, wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know yet. Dad, you can't seriously still be considering... I'm not considering anything they proposed, I said, but I need to be smart about this. Strategic. The church is watching. The board is watching. I can't just explode. Why not? Olivia said. Why can't you just tell them both to go to hell? Because I'm the pastor, I said. Because 2,400 families depend on this church. Because if I handle this wrong, it could split the congregation, destroy everything we've built. Olivia looked at me for a long moment. You know what I think? She said quietly. I think you're more worried about disappointing the congregation than you are about standing up for yourself. She left, closed the door behind her. I sat alone with the evidence, the spreadsheet, the hotel records, the ring and tissue paper on my desk. My phone buzzed. Text from Kathy. Have you thought about what we discussed? I really think we can make this work for everyone. I stared at that message. Then I opened my sermon journal, found a blank page, started writing, but sacrifice without respect isn't love, it's surrender. There it was. The thought I couldn't finish Sunday night. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice. But sacrifice without respect isn't love, it's surrender. I'd been surrendering for months, maybe years. Surrendering to Kathy's coldness, her distance, her manipulation. Surrendering because I thought that's what love meant, what being a good husband meant, what being a good pastor meant. But Olivia was right. I'd been so busy trying to be the perfect example of grace that I'd forgotten grace is supposed to flow both ways. I couldn't finish the thought, not yet, but I was getting there. Thursday morning, I got a call from Jessica Morris, our youth pastor. Pastor Marcus, she said, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. We met at a coffee shop off campus, neutral ground. Jessica sat across from me, hands wrapped around her latte. I've known for 3 weeks, she said, about Kathy and Tyler. You knew? Not everything, but enough. I saw them at a restaurant in Salem. I was up there visiting family. They were in a corner booth, holding hands. I watched them kiss. My chest tightened. 3 weeks ago? Yes. I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was innocent. But then I saw them together at church the next Sunday, and the way they looked at each other, Pastor, I knew. And I didn't tell you. I'm so sorry. Why didn't you tell me? Jessica looked down at her coffee. Because I was a coward. Because I didn't want to be the one to blow up your life. Because I kept thinking maybe they'd end it. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe... She looked up. There's no good excuse. I should have told you. It's okay, Jessica. It's not okay. You deserve to know. And now, Pastor, there's something else. Olivia called me last night, told me about the investigation she's doing, the fake rehearsals, the hotel records. And I want to help. I have access to the church building logs, the security footage, The financial records. If you need evidence for divorce, for the board, for whatever, I can help you get it. I looked at this young woman, 29 years old, youth pastor for 3 years. She'd always been loyal, principled, good heart. Why? I asked. Why help me? This could get messy, could affect your job. Because what they did is wrong, Jessica said simply. Because I've watched you teach about integrity for 3 years, and now I'm watching them try to manipulate you with your own doctrine. And I won't stand by and let that happen. She slid a flash drive across the table. Security footage from the church, she said. Last 6 months. I pulled the nights Kathy marked as extended rehearsals. The building was empty, Pastor. Every single one of those nights. Not only were Tyler and Kathy not there, no one was there. I picked up the flash drive. Small silver thing. Everything I needed to prove systematic deception. Thank you, Jessica. There's more, she said. I talked to some of the worship team members, quietly, asked if they remembered all those extra rehearsals. Pastor, none of them remember 18 extra rehearsals. They remember the regular weekly practices. But all those late night special sessions Kathy scheduled, the worship team was never notified. She made them up. So she and Tyler could be together, Jessica finished. Yes, under the cover of church business, using church facilities, possibly church resources. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger exactly, colder than that, more like clarity. I need to call an emergency board meeting, I said. Good, Jessica said. Because, Pastor, this isn't just about your marriage anymore. This is about misuse of church resources, fraud. If they were using church credit cards for their affair, if they were lying about their work schedules, that's grounds for termination for both of them. I hadn't thought about that, about the church side of things. I'd been so focused on the personal betrayal that I'd missed the professional implications. The board needs to know, Jessica said, today, before this gets worse. She was right. Friday afternoon, Olivia came downstairs dressed to go out. Nice jeans, sweater, makeup. Where are you going? I asked. To talk to Mom, she said. Her jaw was set, determined. Olivia, maybe that's not Dad. She's been avoiding you all week, dodging calls, sending texts instead of talking. She needs to face this, face me. Honey, if you confront her, it could make things worse. Worse than what? Olivia's voice rose. Worse than her cheating on you? Worse than her lying for months? Worse than her trying to manipulate you into raising another man's baby? She had a point. Where are you meeting her? Church, Olivia said. Parking lot. She's setting up for the weekend women's retreat. I figured public place. She can't make a scene. And if she does make a scene, then everyone will see what she really is, Olivia said. She left. I stood at the window watching her drive away, my fierce daughter, going to battle for me because I wasn't ready to battle for myself. I should have stopped her, should have protected her from this. But maybe she needed to do this. Maybe we both did. Olivia called me an hour later. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Dad, she sobbed. Dad, you need to come get me. Where are you? Church parking lot. Just come, please. I broke every speed limit getting there. Found Olivia sitting on the curb by her car. Jessica Morris was with her, arm around her shoulders. What happened? I asked. Jessica looked at me. Her face was grim. Olivia confronted Kathy. It didn't go well. I sat down next to my daughter. She leaned into me, still crying. Tell me, I said gently. I found her in the fellowship hall, Olivia said between sobs. Setting up tables. I asked her why she did this to you, to us, why she threw away our family. What did she say? She said, Olivia's voice broke. She said I was being dramatic, that I didn't understand adult relationships, that you and she had been unhappy for years and I was too blind to see it. Olivia, I asked her if she ever loved us, Olivia said. If we were ever real to her, or if we were just props for her perfect pastor's wife performance. I could imagine that conversation, could see it in my mind. She looked at her phone, Olivia said, didn't even look at me, said, "You're being dramatic, Olivia. This is why I needed someone who understood me." Then she walked away, left me standing there. My daughter, my brilliant, beautiful daughter, asking her mother if she'd ever been loved, and getting that response. I grabbed her, Olivia said. Not hard, just her arm. Tried to make her look at me. And her necklace, that stupid silver cross she always wears, it caught on my sleeve. Broke. Beads went everywhere. I looked down. Olivia was holding the silver cross necklace, or what was left of it. The chain was broken. The little silver beads scattered, the cross pendant in her palm. She was so angry, Olivia whispered. Not that she'd hurt me, not that she'd broken my heart. Angry that I broke her necklace. She said it was expensive, that Tyler gave it to her. Of course he did. She said I was just like you, Olivia continued. Judgmental, unforgiving, unable to understand that people make mistakes. She said, Olivia looked up at me. She said you drove her to this, that you were so focused on the church you never saw her, never loved her right. And Tyler did. Jessica made a sound, disgusted. So, it's my fault, I said quietly. I drove her to have an affair. That's what she said. Olivia wiped her eyes. Then she told me to leave, said I wasn't welcome at the women's retreat this weekend, that I needed to grow up and understand that life is complicated. I held my daughter while she cried. Jessica stayed with us. Finally, Olivia calmed down enough to drive home. When we got there, I sent Olivia upstairs to rest. Then I sat in my office holding that broken silver cross necklace, the one Kathy wore every Sunday, the one she clutched when she lied, the one Tyler gave her. She didn't even care about the religious meaning. It was just jewelry, just a prop for her performance. I opened my phone, called Eleanor. Mom, I said, I need to talk to you. Tonight. It's important. Eleanor opened her door at 8 p.m. I hadn't called ahead to say I was coming, just showed up. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside. What happened? I told her everything. The board meeting documents, Margaret bringing the ring, Olivia's investigation, the confrontation in the parking lot. Eleanor listened, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she went to her kitchen, came back with a photo. I didn't want to show you this, she said. I hoped I wouldn't have to. She handed me the photo. It was old, printed on photo paper, slightly faded. It showed a woman, pregnant, standing in front of a church, but not Riverside Community Church. Different building, different city. The woman was Kathy, but she was younger, maybe early 20s, and she was standing with a man who wasn't me. Older man, gray hair, wearing clerical robes. What is this? I asked. That, Eleanor said, is from 2003, Denver, Colorado, Cornerstone Community Church. I stared at the photo, at young Kathy, clearly pregnant, standing close to this older pastor. I hired a private investigator, Eleanor said. After you told me about the pregnancy, something felt wrong, too calculated, too smooth. So I had him dig into Kathy's past before she met you. Mom, Marcus, this is Kathy with Pastor Gregory Williams. He was senior pastor at Cornerstone Church. She was engaged to him, pregnant with his baby, except it wasn't his baby. It was the baby of their worship leader. Same pattern, affair, pregnancy, manipulation. I couldn't speak. Pastor Williams adopted the baby, Eleanor continued. Kathy convinced him it was the Christian thing to do, that it would be a testimony. They were married 18 months. Then she left him, took half his assets, moved on. The baby? I managed to ask. 22 years old now. Doesn't speak to Kathy. Hasn't in 10 years, according to the investigator. The child grew up knowing the truth. Resents both parents for the deception. Eleanor sat down next to me. Sweetheart, this isn't about you failing. This isn't about you not loving her right. This is who she is. She's done this before. She'll do it again. She finds men in positions of spiritual authority, pastors, worship leaders, and she manipulates them, uses their faith against them. I looked at the photo, at young Kathy with the same smile she had now, same calculated expression. You're saying I'm not special, I said. I'm just the latest mark. You were never the problem, Eleanor said gently. She was always the problem. I set the photo down, felt something break inside me, but it wasn't my heart breaking. It was something else. Maybe it was my illusions breaking, my false beliefs, my need to be the perfect pastor who could fix anything with enough grace. I've been trying to figure out how to forgive her, I said, how to practice what I preach. But Mom, she doesn't want forgiveness. She wants permission to keep doing this, to keep using people and moving on. Yes, Eleanor said, that's exactly what she wants. I picked up the photo again, looked at it closer. Kathy's hand was on her belly. Protective gesture, like she cared about the baby, but she'd left that baby 18 months later, walked away from a child to move on to her next target. Had she ever planned to stay with me, or was I always just temporary, just a stepping stone to something else? What do I do? I asked. Eleanor took my hand. You stop trying to save her. You save yourself. And you save Olivia from watching her father be destroyed by someone who doesn't deserve him? I nodded, couldn't speak. And Marcus? Eleanor said. That baby she's carrying, it doesn't need you to adopt it. It needs Tyler to step up. And if he won't, I will. I looked at my foster mother, 68 years old, fierce, loving. You? I said. I took in an 8-year-old boy nobody wanted, Eleanor said. I can take in a baby nobody's fighting for. I'm not doing it for Kathy. I'm not doing it for Tyler. I'm doing it because that child deserves better than being used as a manipulation tool. And just like that, Kathy's plan fell apart because she'd assumed I was the only option, that I was so desperate to be the good pastor, the forgiving husband, that I'd do anything she asked. But she'd forgotten. I had Eleanor. I had Olivia. I had people who actually loved me, not what I could provide them. I had a choice. It was after midnight when I got home. I went straight to my office, opened my sermon journal, found that entry from Sunday night. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice, but sacrifice without respect isn't love, it's surrender. I picked up my pen, finished the thought. Tonight, I realized I taught Olivia that love means accepting mistreatment. I modeled forgiveness without boundaries, grace without accountability. She watched me enable her mother's coldness for 19 years. What have I done to my little girl? My tears hit the page. The ink smeared. But I kept writing. I need to stop surrendering. For Olivia. For the congregation. For myself. Because teaching grace doesn't mean becoming a doormat. It means having the strength to say this far, no further. You can't use my faith against me anymore. I closed the journal, placed it on the altar in my home office, the small one Kathy had insisted we keep for atmosphere. Then I knelt. And for the first time in my life, I didn't pray for strength to forgive. I prayed for strength to stop forgiving, to stop enabling, to stop surrendering my dignity because I was afraid of looking like a bad Christian. I prayed for the courage to choose truth over reputation. I knelt there until dawn, and when I stood up, something had changed. I knew what I had to do. Monday morning, I walked into a conference room downtown, not at the church, neutral ground. Eleanor was with me. So was Thomas Wright, Eleanor's attorney, and a member of our congregation. Deacon Robert Chen sat at the head of the table with Dr. Patricia Lawrence, our church counselor. Thomas had 3 folders in front of him. He opened the first one. I've reviewed everything he said. The expense reports, the board minutes, the hotel records, the security footage. Marcus, this is more than enough for divorce on grounds of adultery. Oregon's a no-fault state, but proving systematic deception will affect asset division and any custody considerations. Olivia's 19, I said. There's no custody issue. No, but there's the question of Kathy's position at the church, her salary, her benefits. Thomas opened the second folder. These board minutes show she was actively working to undermine your position. That's breach of fiduciary duty. The church board can terminate her for cause. And Tyler? Chen asked. Tyler's easier. Thomas pulled out the church's employment agreement. Section 12, subsection C. Moral turpitude or conduct detrimental to the church's mission constitutes grounds for immediate termination. The affair alone qualifies. The misuse of church resources, the fake rehearsals, the credit card charges, that's fraud. Dr. Patricia Lawrence spoke up. She was 51, had been our counselor for 7 years, seen me through rough patches with church members. Never imagined she'd be counseling me through my own marriage collapse. Marcus, she said gently, I need to ask, are you certain you want to pursue this? Divorce, terminations? Once you start, there's no taking it back. The church will know, the community will know, your reputation will be affected. My reputation, I said. The words tasted bitter. For 20 years I protected my reputation. Protected the church's reputation, and all it got me was a wife who thought she could manipulate me because I'd never risk the scandal. So, you're sure? Patricia asked. I looked at Eleanor. She nodded. I'm sure, I said. Thomas closed the folder. Then here's what we do. First, I filed divorce papers today. We cite adultery, include the evidence. Second, Deacon Chen calls an emergency board meeting for Wednesday. Third, you continue preaching as normal. Don't tip your hand. Let them think you're still considering their proposal. That feels dishonest, I said. It's strategic, Chen said. If we move too fast, they'll try to control the narrative. Kathy will play victim. Tyler will claim you're vindictive. We need to present the evidence to the board first. Let them see this isn't about your hurt feelings. It's about professional misconduct. Eleanor squeezed my hand. Marcus, honey, this isn't dishonest. This is wisdom. You don't owe them a warning. They didn't warn you before they blew up your life. She was right. Okay, I said, we do it your way. Thomas slid a paper across the table. Divorce filing. My name. Kathy's name. 20 years of marriage reduced to legal language. Sign here, he said. I picked up the pen. It was heavy, solid, the kind of pen that means something. I signed my name, Marcus Hayes, 20 years, over with a signature. One more thing, I said. I looked at Thomas. The baby, when it's born, Eleanor wants to adopt. Can we include provisions for that in the divorce agreement? Thomas raised his eyebrows, looked at Eleanor. You're serious about this? Dead serious, Eleanor said. That baby didn't ask to be born into this mess, and I'll be damned if I let Kathy use it as a bargaining chip for the next 18 years. We can include language, Thomas said slowly. But Marcus, you understand, if Eleanor adopts the baby, you'll have no legal claim. You won't be the father. You'll be distant family. I know, I said, and that's better than being manipulated into fake fatherhood. Thomas nodded, started taking notes. I'll draft the papers, he said, but Marcus, when you file these, when the board votes, there's no going back. The church will know. Everyone will know. I thought about that, about 2,400 families, about Sunday morning announcements, about the whispers in the parking lot. Then I thought about Olivia crying in that parking lot, asking her mother if she'd ever been loved. Good, I said. Let them know. Wednesday evening, the church board convened in emergency session, all 9 members, Deacon Chen presiding. I sat at one end of the table. Kathy wasn't there. She wasn't on the board. Neither was Tyler. Chen opened the meeting with prayer. Then he got down to business. "Brothers and sisters," he said, "we're here to discuss allegations of professional misconduct involving 2 staff members. What I'm about to present is sensitive. Before we begin, I need everyone to sign a confidentiality agreement." Papers passed around the table. Everyone signed. Then Chen opened the folders, started laying out evidence. The board meeting, minutes from September. Kathy's proposal to replace me. Her signature with the smiley face. The expense reports. 23 charges to BM. All expensive restaurants. All matching Tyler's schedule. The worship schedule. 18 fake rehearsals. Security footage showing empty buildings. The hotel records, Miami, Cancun, adjoining rooms, champagne charges, and finally, the engagement ring, Margaret Brennan's testimony about finding it in Tyler's apartment. The board members sat in silence. Some were shaking their heads. Some had tears in their eyes. Finally, board member Sarah Mitchell spoke. She was 49, had been on the board for 8 years. Respected voice. "Pastor Marcus," she said. Her voice was gentle. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "None of us did," said another board member. "James Rodriguez, 56, owned a construction company." "But the question is, what do we do about it?" Chen pulled out the employment agreements. "According to church bylaws, both Catherine Hayes and Tyler Brennan can be terminated for cause. The evidence here shows systematic deception, misuse of church resources, and conduct detrimental to our mission." "We should vote," said Elizabeth Park, the youngest board member at 38. "But I want to be clear. We're voting on professional misconduct, not on Marcus's marriage." "Agreed," Chen said. "This isn't about personal relationships. This is about 2 staff members who lied, manipulated church resources, and actively worked against church leadership. If they did this to Pastor Marcus, what's to stop them from doing it to others?" The vote was called. 9 board members, 2 votes needed for each termination. Tyler's termination, 7 in favor, 2 abstaining. Kathy's termination, 8 in favor, 1 abstaining. Chen made the final notation. Official church letterhead. Documentation of both terminations. Effective immediately. "I'll deliver the letters myself," Chen said on tomorrow morning. I sat there holding the official documents. Tyler was done. Kathy was done. Not because of the affair, because of what they'd done to the church. It felt strange. Not victorious, not sad, just necessary. Chen handed Tyler the termination letter later that night. I wasn't there, but Chen told me about it afterward. Tyler had looked at him, then at me, waiting for me to show mercy, to overrule the board, to be the forgiving pastor who always gave second chances. And I'd looked away. 7-2. The vote was clear. That Sunday, I stood in the pulpit with my sermon journal. The sanctuary was packed. 2,400 people. Word had spread that something was happening. The prayer chain was on fire. Speculation everywhere. Tyler wasn't leading worship. Jessica Morris stood in his place, guitar in hand. Simple wooden cross around her neck, not diamond-studded silver. She led us in, "It is well with my soul." Kathy wasn't in her usual spot, 3rd row, left side. The chair was empty. A few people noticed. I saw them whispering. Eleanor sat in the front row, Olivia beside her, both watching me with concern and love. I opened my sermon journal. The leather creaked, that familiar sound. "Good morning, church family," I said. My voice was steady. "I'm going to do something different today. I'm not preaching the sermon I prepared. Instead, I'm going to tell you the truth." The sanctuary got very quiet. "For 15 years, I said, I've stood in this pulpit and taught you about grace, about forgiveness, about how love means sacrifice. I believed every word. I built my life on those principles." I paused, looked at my journal. at years of sermons written in blue ink. But I was wrong, I said, or rather I was incomplete, because I taught you that grace means always forgiving, that love means always sacrificing, that if you're really Christian, really committed, you'll endure anything and call it faithfulness. People were leaning forward now, listening. 3 weeks ago, I said, I discovered that my wife was having an affair with our worship leader, that she was pregnant with his child, that they've been lying to me, to all of us, for months, using church resources, fake rehearsals, fake business trips, all while standing in this sanctuary, leading worship, organizing events, looking like the perfect ministry couple. Gasps throughout the congregation. Some people looked shocked, others nodded. They'd suspected. They came to me, I continued, and asked me to forgive them, to help them raise the baby, to show the church what grace looks like. And I almost did it. I almost said yes, because I thought that's what being a good pastor meant. Forgiving everything, sacrificing everything, never setting boundaries because boundaries might look unchristian. I closed my journal, set it on the pulpit. But then my daughter asked me something. She asked if I was more worried about disappointing the congregation than I was about standing up for myself. And she was right. I was so busy trying to be the perfect example of grace that I forgot. Grace without accountability is just permission to keep hurting people. I saw people nodding. Some were crying. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice, I said. The motif, the words I'd written and rewritten. But I learned something these past 3 weeks. Sacrifice without respect isn't love. It's surrender. And God doesn't ask us to surrender our dignity. He asks us to love with wisdom, to forgive without enabling, to show grace without becoming a doormat. My voice grew stronger. So here's what I'm telling you today. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending the betrayal didn't happen. It means acknowledging it hurt, establishing boundaries, and choosing not to let it destroy you. Grace isn't the absence of consequences, it's redemption through them. I looked out at 2,400 faces. Some were smiling through tears. Some looked uncomfortable. Some were nodding vigorously. The church board voted Wednesday night to terminate both Catherine Hayes and Tyler Brennan, I said, not because of their relationship, but because they systematically lied, misused church resources, and actively worked against church leadership. The evidence is documented. The vote was clear. More gasps. But also relief, affirmation. I'm filing for divorce, I continued, because staying in a marriage where I'm manipulated and disrespected isn't faithfulness. It's enabling. And I won't model that for my daughter anymore. I won't model that for this congregation anymore. I picked up my journal again, opened to the last page I'd written. I used to think grace meant having no limits. Now I know better. Grace has limits. And the limit is, you don't get to weaponize my faith against me. You don't get to use my love as a tool to manipulate me. You don't get to call your destruction complicated and demand I accommodate it. The sanctuary was absolutely silent. Some of you won't understand this decision, I said. Some of you will think I'm unforgiving, unchristian. You're welcome to leave. I won't stop you, but I'm done pretending that enduring abuse is holiness. I'm done teaching people that love means accepting whatever treatment they get. I closed the journal one final time. Here's what love actually means, I said. Love means telling the truth, even when it's hard. Love means setting boundaries, even when people call you unforgiving. Love means choosing dignity over reputation. And love means understanding that some people don't want your forgiveness, they want your permission, and you don't have to give it. I looked at Eleanor, at Olivia. They were both crying, but smiling. That's all I have today, I said. No 3-point sermon, no theological exposition, just the truth. If you want to pray with me about this, my office door is open. If you want to leave the church, I understand. But I won't apologize for choosing truth over keeping the peace. I stepped down from the pulpit. The silence held for 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then Eleanor stood up, started clapping. Olivia stood next to her, clapping. Jessica stood from the worship team area, clapping. And like a wave, the sanctuary rose. 2,000 people, maybe more, stood and applauded. Some were crying, some were cheering, but I also saw people standing up to leave, walking out, families gathering their things. Maybe 47 families total. Enough to notice. I didn't try to stop them. I'd spent 15 years trying to make everyone happy, trying to never cause offense, trying to be the perfect pastor who never made waves. That man died 3 weeks ago in a church parking lot. This man, the one standing in this pulpit, he was different, scarred, wiser, tired, but free. 2 weeks later, Eleanor sat in my living room with Dr. Patricia Lawrence. They'd been talking for an hour about adoption procedures, home studies, background checks, financial requirements. Eleanor was 68 years old, single, living on a fixed income, not the typical adoptive parent profile, but she was determined. "The baby's due in April," Patricia said. She was facilitating this as both church counselor and licensed social worker. "That gives us 5 months to complete the process." "Eleanor, I have to ask, are you sure about this? At your age, raising an infant..." "I raised Marcus from age 8, Eleanor interrupted. "Everybody told me I was too old then, too. Said I should let the state handle it, let him go to a group home. But I looked at that angry little boy and I saw someone worth saving." She pulled out the ultrasound photo, the one Kathy had left on my coffee table. Eleanor had kept it. "This baby didn't ask for any of this," Eleanor said. "Neither did Marcus back then. Somebody has to break the cycle. And if these two won't step up," she meant Kathy and Tyler, "then I will." "Kathy's agreed?" I asked. "Kathy's desperate," Patricia said. "She and Tyler are both unemployed, both job hunting. He's talking about moving to California. She's talking about going back to Denver. Neither of them wants to be a single parent." When I approached Kathy about Eleanor adopting, she agreed immediately, too immediately. "She's washing her hands of it," I said. "Essentially, yes. Tyler's mother, Margaret, is heartbroken. She wanted to adopt herself, but..." Patricia looked uncomfortable. "But Tyler burned that bridge," Eleanor finished. "Margaret told me. She said she can't raise her grandchild while watching her son continue to make destructive choices. It would kill her." We sat in silence for a moment. "What about you, Marcus?" Patricia asked gently. "How do you feel about this? Eleanor adopting the baby means you'll be, what, technically, great-nephew, cousin?" "It means I'll be Uncle Marcus," I said, "which is better than being fake Dad Marcus. At least it's honest. And you're okay with that?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I'm okay with the baby being raised by someone who loves them," I said. "Someone who won't use them as a manipulation tool. Someone who will tell them the truth about where they came from. Yeah, I'm okay with that." Eleanor reached across and squeezed my hand. "You were 8 years old when I took you in," she said. Her voice was soft but steady. "Everybody said you were too damaged, too angry, too broken. 5 foster homes in 3 years. Nobody wanted you. But I saw a boy who deserved a chance." Her eyes filled with tears. "This baby didn't ask for this mess," Eleanor continued. "Didn't ask to be conceived in an affair. Didn't ask to be used as leverage. Just like you didn't ask to lose your mother. Didn't ask to be bounced through the system. Somebody has to break the cycle, sweetheart." She held up the ultrasound photo, looked at it with such tenderness. "I'm 68 years old," Eleanor said, "and I'm going to do this one more time. Not for Kathy, not for Tyler, not even for you. For that child who needs someone to break the cycle, because somebody broke it for you." And there it was, the circle completed. The foster child who became a pastor, the pastor who became a father, the father who learned that love isn't endless sacrifice, it's wise boundaries. And now his foster mother choosing love one more time. I couldn't speak, just nodded. Patricia was crying too. She pulled out adoption paperwork, started going through requirements. "We'll need a home study," she said. "A financial verification, references. The court will want to ensure the baby's going to a stable home. My home's been stable for 50 years, Eleanor said dryly. I think I'll pass. I'll provide a reference, I said. So will the church board. Eleanor practically raised half this congregation. Good, Patricia said, because frankly, Eleanor, you're the best option this baby has. Infinitely better than being fought over by two people who don't really want the responsibility. Eleanor carefully folded the ultrasound photo, put it in her wallet. April, she said, 5 months to get ready. I better start clearing out that spare bedroom. December 25th, Christmas morning. The sanctuary was decorated with white poinsettias and evergreen garlands, gold lights everywhere. Beautiful. Our attendance had changed. We'd lost those 47 families who walked out after the truth sermon, but we'd gained something unexpected. Word spread about the pastor who chose truth over reputation, about setting boundaries, about grace with accountability. New families started coming. People who'd been hurt by churches that enabled abusers, people who'd been told to forgive and forget and stay in toxic situations. Our Christmas service had 3,500 people, nearly 1,000 more than usual. I stood in the pulpit in my robes, purple stole, same outfit I'd worn for 15 years, but I felt different wearing it now. Jessica led worship. She'd been promoted to worship director. She wore her simple wooden cross, led us in O Holy Night. In the front row, Eleanor sat holding a baby, 10 months old, born April 8th, 3 weeks early. Small, healthy, perfect. Eleanor had named him Samuel, because God heard, she'd said, heard the prayer for this child to have a real family. Samuel wore a blue onesie with little reindeers on it. His dark hair stuck up in funny angles. He was awake, looking around with curious eyes. Olivia sat next to Eleanor, making faces at Samuel. He giggled. That baby laugh that sounds like pure joy. The chair next to them, the chair where Kathy used to sit with its reserved for pastor's family sign, that chair held Jessica Morris. No sign, no reservation, just Jessica in her associate pastor robe. We'd promoted her 3 weeks ago, youngest associate pastor Riverside had ever had. She deserved it. I opened my sermon journal, the old leather, the gold cross catching the Christmas lights. Good morning, church family, I said. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, 2,500 voices responded. I want to start by reading something I wrote, I said. I flipped to the most recent page, the one I'd written last week. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice, I read. But sacrifice without respect isn't love. It's surrender. Real love has boundaries. Real love tells the truth. Real love chooses dignity while still showing grace. That's what I'm learning. That's what I'm teaching now. I looked up, saw people nodding, saw some new faces who'd never heard the full story, just knew this church was different somehow. A lot of you are new here, I said. You've heard rumors about what happened, about the sermon I preached in October, about my divorce, about the changes at this church. So let me tell you the truth, straight up. I closed the journal, spoke from my heart. I built this church on a foundation of grace, I said, but I confused grace with enabling. I taught people that forgiveness means accepting any treatment, that love means sacrificing your dignity. And I was wrong. Grace isn't weakness. It's strength with wisdom. Forgiveness isn't pretending nothing happened. It's acknowledging the hurt and choosing to move forward without letting it destroy you. The sanctuary was quiet, listening. Some people left when I started teaching that, I said. They wanted a pastor who would tell them to stay in harmful situations, to forgive without accountability, to call abuse complicated and endure it for the sake of family or ministry or reputation. I won't do that anymore. I can't. I gestured to the front row, to Eleanor holding Samuel, to Olivia sitting beside them, to Jessica in her robe. That's my family, I said. Not the family I planned, not the perfect pastor's family I tried to project for 15 years, but the real family, the honest family, the family built on truth and boundaries and real love, not the performance of it. Samuel made a sound. That baby babble. Eleanor shushed him gently, but I smiled. That baby, I said, is my foster mother's son, legally. He was born into a complicated situation, could have been used as a manipulation tool, but Eleanor chose to break that cycle, to give him a real family, to raise him with truth instead of lies. I looked at my sermon journal, at 15 years of teachings, at the evolution of my understanding. Here's my Christmas message, I said. God didn't send Jesus to teach us to be doormats. He sent Jesus to teach us to love wisely, to speak truth, to set boundaries, to show grace without enabling destruction. And sometimes the most Christ-like thing you can do is say, no, this far, no further, I choose truth. The sanctuary erupted in applause. Not everyone, but most. Enough. Eleanor stood up, Samuel on her hip. Olivia stood next to her. Jessica stood from her chair. They walked up to the pulpit. My family, my real family. This is what redemption looks like, I said into the microphone. Yeah, not perfect, not conventional, but real, true, built on boundaries and love and second chances given wisely. Samuel reached for me. Eleanor handed him over. I held this 10-month-old boy, this child who could have been a weapon, who became a blessing instead. Merry Christmas, church family, I said. Welcome to Riverside, where we believe in grace, but grace with eyes open. Where we believe in forgiveness, but forgiveness that protects the wounded, not just the guilty. Where we believe in love, real love, with real boundaries. I handed Samuel back to Eleanor. She carried him back to the front row. Olivia followed. Jessica returned to her seat, and I stood in my pulpit, no longer the man who'd stood there in October. That man was gone. This man was wiser, scarred, free. I preached about the birth of Christ, about new beginnings, about how the old must die before the new can live. After service, people lined up to talk to me. Some were church members, some were new visitors. A woman in her 40s, tears streaming down her face. Pastor, my husband, he's been cheating, and our pastor told me to forgive him and stay, to keep the family together. But after hearing you, I think I have permission to leave. You always had permission, I told her gently. You just needed someone to tell you that boundaries are holy, too. A man in his 30s. I'm here because my sister told me about your sermon, the one in October. She said you chose truth over keeping the peace. That's what I need to learn. Then welcome, I said. We're all learning together. More people, more stories, people who'd been told to endure, to forgive without limits, to sacrifice their dignity for the sake of ministry or marriage or family peace. I prayed with each one, not prayers of stay and endure, prayers of God give you wisdom to know the difference between grace and enabling. By the time the sanctuary cleared, it was after 2 p.m. I walked out to the parking lot, saw Eleanor loading Samuel into her car. Olivia was helping, making sure the car seat was secure. Hey, I said. Eleanor looked up, smiled. Good sermon, Pastor. Good baby, I said. Samuel was already asleep in his car seat, peaceful. He is, isn't he? Eleanor said softly. Perfect little thing. Doesn't know how close he came to being used as a pawn. But he wasn't, I said, because you chose love over manipulation. We both did, Eleanor said. She hugged me, tight. I'm proud of you, Marcus, proud of the man you've become. Not the perfect pastor who never makes waves. The real man who tells the truth even when it costs him. Olivia hugged me next. Merry Christmas, Dad. Merry Christmas, honey. They drove away. I stood in the parking lot. Same parking lot where I'd seen Kathy and Tyler 3 months ago. Same place where everything shattered, But it didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt like a place where truth happened, where healing started. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Great sermon, boss. See you Sunday. And yes, I'm already working on the worship set. Boo. I smiled, texted back, you're the best. Merry Christmas. Another text. This one from Deacon Chen. Marcus. Attendance numbers are in 3,547 today. Budget up 40% from this time last year. New families keep coming. You made the right call. I didn't respond to that one because it wasn't about numbers or budgets. It was about truth. But it was nice to know truth could build something, not just tear things down. I walked to my car, opened my sermon journal one more time, looked at that final entry. I've spent my whole life believing that love means sacrifice, but sacrifice without respect isn't love. It's surrender. Real love has boundaries. I picked up my pen, added one more line, and today I finally learned the difference. I closed the journal, put it in my car, drove home. Not to the house I'd shared with Kathy. I'd sold that. Too many memories. Too much pain. I drove to a small apartment near the church. Simple, clean, mine. Olivia was coming over for Christmas dinner. Eleanor and Samuel too. Jessica might stop by. Maybe Deacon Chen and his wife. Not the Christmas I'd planned a year ago. Not the perfect pastor's perfect family gathering, but real. True. Built on love that was wise, not just sacrificial. I parked, walked to my door, paused. Thought about Marcus Hayes at 42, senior pastor, divorced, foster uncle to a baby born from his ex-wife's affair, leading a church that was smaller but healthier, living in an apartment instead of a house, not the life I'd imagined, but the life I'd chosen, the life built on truth. And for the first time in 20 years, I wasn't performing, wasn't pretending, wasn't sacrificing my dignity for the sake of keeping the peace. I was just living, honestly, messily, freely. I opened my door, went inside, started preparing for the family that was coming. The real family, the chosen family, the family that showed up. Marcus and Olivia redefined what family means. Not who you're born to, but who shows up, who tells the truth, who loves you with boundaries and wisdom, not just endless accommodation. If you've built your own chosen family, people who aren't blood but are everything, tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear those stories. And if this story moved you, if it gave you permission to set boundaries with people who hurt you, subscribe. I tell stories about betrayal, justice, and finding peace when the life you planned falls apart. I'll see you in the next one.